Spiceworks Live. This is episode 1, Spiceworks 6.2 beta preview. Welcome back to Spiceworks Live, everyone. My name is Elise. I'm in marketing here at Spiceworks. This is my unicorn, Glitter. And we are here today to kick off the Spiceworks 6.2 live stream series. And for those of you that did not tune in for the Spiceworks 6 live streams, what we try to do for product releases here at Spiceworks, because we're Spiceworks and we like to keep things fun and different and connect with all of our users that love us so and that we love, is we try to do things live and bring you as many sneak peeks as we can about what's coming. So this is going to be all around 6.2, the beta of which is not quite out yet, but we wanted to give you a preview of what's coming out very soon. Which promises to help you focus your scans, focus your tickets, and most importantly for IT pros everywhere, focus your time. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to have Caroline, who is our IT marketing manager, interviewing co-founder Greg Kadawar, giving us a little bit of a high level, sort of what's coming in 6.2 and what makes releases here at Spiceworks different. And then we're going to be doing what we always do for our live streams, which is a live Q&A, which is where you get to send in your questions on 6.2 and in releases in general. Make sure to get those in using the live stream window, which is right below the chat window, which is right below where you're watching the live stream. Send those in, and everybody that gets their questions answered on the air is going to get one of these super cool pair of Spiceworks sunglasses. Not even available in stores. So send your questions in, and we'll be getting to those in the second half of the show. So with that, let's just jump right into the interview portion, and we're going to have our sailing enthusiast Caroline talking to Dee Snyder about what's coming. Hey, guys.
Hey guys. I'm Caroline, IT marketing manager here, and I'm here with Greg, who is co-founder and VP of Dev. Hey, Greg.
Hi.
Hi. So we're going to be asking him some hard-hitting questions on 6.2 and product releases here. So we'll go ahead and get started. Tell us a little bit about product releases here at Spiceworks and how they're unique.
I think something for everybody to keep in mind in our product releases that's been changing probably over the last year or two is the functionality that's in the server versus the app is shifting a little now. Historically, almost all the functionality was built into the app. So when we had an app release, that was pretty much how you got all the new functionality. Now, some functionality is built into the app, and some functionality is actually up on our servers, and it just gets merged into the app, or injected into the app is the term we use for it. So, when you hear us talk about what's in 6.2, those are things that are primarily going to be in the app. But you should pay attention to the community and a lot of the posts that we make around server releases, because there'll be additional functionality that'll show up in your app from our servers on a monthly or bi-weekly basis as well.
Oh, very cool. So thinking of 6.2 specifically, what are some of the biggie features?
Okay, a couple of highlights. There's a bunch of smaller things in 6.2, but a couple of highlights I'd like to point out. First is we've fundamentally changed the way we do scan progress and initiate the scan. One of the problems we're trying to address is the number of unknowns people get and how to fix them. So now when you do a scan, you should be able to easily tell. We try to put them in a couple of buckets: easy things to fix, hard things to fix, and ones that get discovered properly. And we try to have some workflows built in to remediate those things. The second kind of big area is around network utilization. We've done a fundamental shift in how we set up our scan now. So if you're going to be one of the beta users and try out 6.2, you'll really want to pay attention to the scan settings now. And fundamentally, the discovery of assets is now kind of a separate step. When you detect a device on the network, that's kind of its own step. And then the collection of data will be a separate schedulable step that you can set up your own schedules on. Historically, those were all done at once, so discovery of a device as well as the data collection was the same step, and you only had one way to set a schedule for it. And some of the downsides of that are you might get devices that move around in your inventory, and you might not like that or want that. So now when things get detected once, we can get the data collection done separately, and things shouldn't float around as much, and the data integrity should be better. Third big bucket of things is around the help desk. We've got this notion of labor. Historically we had time and rates on tickets, and now you can have time and rates based on people or tickets, and so there's a lot more flexibility in how you this is itchy how those things work. Nice. Final couple things. We've got some easier ways to post knowledge base articles on the user portal, so that for those of y'all that have users that use the user portal, getting knowledge articles posted on there will be a lot easier. And the last big thing is around, we've added this tech role in the help desk so that you can have techs that use the help desk just see their own tickets effectively and not get in the rest of the app. So those are some of the highlights.
Very cool. So, I mean, those sound like great features, but if you had to pick one that you're most excited about.
Probably the one I'm most excited about, mainly because people have asked for it for a couple of years, is the ability to be able to set up schedules based on groups. So historically, you kind of had one schedule for a whole IP range, and now you'll be able to set up schedules based on groups. So if you've got a group of servers that you only want to scan, once a month, you can do that. If you have some machines that you want to scan every day, you can set those up in a separate group. And it gives you a lot of flexibility that you used to not be able to have.
Fantastic. So when can people expect for the first beta build to come out?
I would predict next week. My guess will be middle of next week. The first beta ought to show up. And, the timeline will be, beta will go on for probably 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, depending how things go. And so I would say we'd be done with it sometime in December is my prediction.
Okay. So the most difficult question of the day. If you had to name the best Halloween costume or moment that you can think of, what would it be?
When I was probably 8 or 9 years old, my parents took me to my first haunted house at the student center at the university. And it was the first time I'd seen a latex-based outfit, and it scared me to death because I thought it was real. And I went running out of the student center. My parents had to chase me down.
Well, that sounds traumatizing.
And I remember it today, and that was a long time ago.
Wow. Yeah, it seems like it scarred you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with that, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
And I'm going to pass it back to Elise. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. Excellent. Great questions, and thanks, Greg, for that overview. So speaking of costumes and your favorite Halloween moments, there is a contest going on in the community right now in the contest group. So look for that, because if you post your pictures in that discussion, you will be able to possibly win a special autographed version of a Zombies 2 movie poster, which is up for grabs for the costume that gets the most spice ups in the community. So I'm going to go ahead and extend that an extra day. It was supposed to end today, the contest, but I'm going to extend it till tomorrow so that everyone that's going out trick-or-treating tonight can take pictures and post those. So go ahead and post those in the community if you've got them. And while you're at it, let's give away a pair of sunglasses to whoever can tell us what their favorite Halloween costume was. And we'll get the guys here to vote on their favorites, and we'll give you a bonus pair of sunglasses for that. So do that right now in the chat window below, and also go ahead and send in your questions about 6.2. We've got Freddy versus Jason over here. They're ready to take your questions on 6.2, and they are bound to be good. Since you guys have not even seen the beta yet, I know there's been a lot of questions in the community about what's going to be coming out. So get those questions in, and we'll make sure that these scary guys over here will field them. And everybody that gets them asked and answered live will get those cool sunglasses. So get those questions in. All right, and now off to you two, scary pumpkins.
We're back. Hey everybody, it's Jason Vore here. I am the IT administrator here at Camp Crystal Lake. And here from your nightmares is Freddy Krueger.
Yes, welcome to my nightmare.
So what we're going to talk about today is your questions. This is all about you. So just get some good questions. And Freddy, besides blood and gore, what can we expect from 6.2?
That's right. We're going to be inventorying the stacked up bodies, starting with that feature. No. So I guess Greg mentioned all the features. I'll just give you the one that I'm most excited about. They'll take me on a tour of their application, show me how they're using inventory, and a lot of times I find out that they're sort of just coping with inventory without actually scanning their devices into inventory. And so so Greg mentioned like a workflow for the unknown. So it's all around that. So we're going to find, as you scan your network, we're going to identify the devices that are on your network and then help you turn those into fully inventoried devices. So a lot of people are just coping with the fact that we found an IP address and we associated a name with it, but that's not all. being able to scan the device means you get the Windows events off of it. You get all the software that's installed on it. You get the software keys for some of the software that's installed on it, stuff like that. And so we want to make sure that you can get all those devices fully into inventory, which means, like Greg said, grouping them into those buckets so that you could go through the bucket and say, okay, well, these are just login errors. I can fix those quickly. These other ones are firewall issues, so I'm going to just knock those out and just go and change group policy and allow the firewall ports, stuff like that. So for me, that's the biggest feature. I think it'll have the most benefit for our users.
Awesome, awesome. We got a lot of good questions already coming in, so we'll jump right to it. First question's from Jay Capera. Can you explain in more detail how technician roles will work?
Great question. So we added a technician role, and so a help desk tech is a non-admin inside the help desk, and so he works tickets, but he's not an admin. So that means that he can't see other people's tickets, he can't work on other people's tickets, he can't change the attributes, etc., of other people's tickets. He'll only be able to work the tickets that he's been given. He only receives emails for the tickets that he's been given. And so if you've got maybe junior techs and you don't want them seeing everything inside of all the ticket queues, etc., then you'd be able to just create this help desk tech role and just dole him out the tickets.
Awesome, awesome. Next question's from Spicy Apple. Can the help desk tech role view tickets based on site name, like remote collectors?
So that'll be the next evolution of how we're doing the tech role. So the first crack at this was just really simple. Just create a diminished capacity view or role, really. And
sorry, I had an itch.
And then we haven't really created groups and assignment of groups. And so the next step of this is going to be to create user groups, or rather admin groups, which would include the help desk tech. So you'd be able to say that these 3 techs are a group, and then later on be able to associate groups with sites or with ticket views. And so in the end, this will take a couple of releases, but in the end it'll be probably what these guys are driving at. So you'll be able to have groups of users, or rather groups of techs that can work on tickets, but the tickets that they see are only certain queues or certain remote sites and that kind of thing.
Awesome. Good question from Dale Burden. How many different new user roles will be available for us to select?
So right now it's just the new one is the help desk tech. So previously there was a help desk admin and there was an inventory admin, and so we're adding help desk tech.
Okay, cool. Jay Dehe. Sorry if I butchered that. I tend to do that. Are we ever going to be able to have remote agents send info to remote sites?
Remote agents send the info to the remote site. Yeah, we're working on that. I don't know if we got that into this release. I'll have to talk to the developer about that. So good question. So the remote agents, I believe previously they would send the data directly all the way to the central site, and when you install the agent on the Windows computer. And I'm not sure that he did it. His plan was to do it. So it was the agent will then send it to the remote site, and the remote site will forward it to the central.
Okay, cool. Nick Crockett wants to, we'll jump to Knowledgebase here. Are we going to see Knowledgebase integration into the help desk in Spiceworks 6.2?
So the Knowledgebase integration that we're doing in 6.2 isn't into the help desk yet. Well, it sort of is, I guess, in that we're doing a better integration with the user portal. And so previously it was a little bit rough the way that you could put Knowledgebase articles on your user portal. So if you use the help desk, chances are you're using the user portal as well. Every help desk email will redirect the user back to the user portal so that he can see the progress on his tickets, etc. And so what we've done is we've improved that integration, so it's really easy to add content onto your portal, first of all, and then second, when the users are submitting tickets through the new ticket form in the portal, it's going to automatically search the knowledge base, or at least the content from your knowledge base that you've selected as this is for my user portal, rather. So in that way, maybe rather than actually submitting the ticket, they'll see these hits off the knowledge base, the self-help, and maybe resolve the issue on their own rather than necessarily submit the ticket to you. So that's sort of the help desk integration. And then later on, there will be more integrations with the help desk where we're going to encourage creating knowledge base articles out of tickets and be also able to find knowledge base article based on the contents of tickets. Things like that will be coming down the pipeline later.
Great. Joshua Burton wants to know, will we be able to decommission devices and have them excluded from the software scan?
Not yet. So that's a top feature request right now in the community, and I've had some conversations. We do a user show. For those that don't know, we do a user show where we invite hundreds of users down here, and we get to talk to them and present to them and stuff like that and get their feedback. And at that show, I was talking to a few users, and this came up more than a couple of times. And so I know it's a top feature request. I know that obviously it comes up in conversation pretty frequently. So I think we're gonna work towards that for a future release soon.
Cool. FRS wants to know, will it be possible to ignore scan errors or mark them as solved manually?
So that is sort of the workflow that we're talking about for the scanning. So ultimately, there's going to be certain devices that there's no way you're going to get them in inventory. So something like an iPhone, something like there's certain types of voice over IP phones that we don't do anything with, and we just don't have support for them. But you still want them in inventory, and so sort of as a last resort, we're going to encourage you for the Windows computers, for the Linux computers, for the printers, et cetera, that you can get them scanned, and we're going to help you get them scanned. And then for the last resort, if there's no way that we can scan it, then there will be a way for you to at least get it into inventory so you can continue using it.
Great. Dana803 wants to know, can you upgrade from 6.0 to 6.2 directly, or do you have to upgrade to 6.1 first?
When 6.2 is released, so good question. So generally speaking, any of our releases you can upgrade from any old release. So if you're way back on 4.5 or 4.7 or something like that, and you want to upgrade to 6 or 6.1, it doesn't matter. You can go all the way. So the installers support that. So when 6.2 is released, you will be able to upgrade from 6.0 directly to 6.2. You don't have to go by way of 6.1. But what we're going to do in this beta, we've been burned in the past during the beta process, that people will upgrade their production installs, and then as we're iterating in the beta, we're going to do a couple of beta drops. So probably every 2 weeks you'll see a new beta build. As we've been making those changes every couple of weeks, we don't want to worry about sort of the state of data in some sort of interim beta release, and we just want to worry about what's data expected to be from production releases. And so we're actually putting a feature into it to where you can't upgrade to a beta. So you will have to install the beta fresh. Now you can migrate your data, and there's a process that we described through the beta release notes. You can migrate your data to the new beta install, and we want you to do that. It's just that we don't want you to be installing this in production yet.
Cool.
I hope that helps. It's kind of a long-winded answer.
No, that's good. Let's see. Here's a good one from Carnatastic. What is your favorite new smaller feature or modification in this version of Spiceworks?
The smaller feature is probably going to be the way that end users, when they search on the portal, or rather when they start submitting tickets on the portal, it'll automatically search the knowledge base. And so the way that I usually talk about this is that we could make a box for you on when you're in the user portal, there's different ways that you can customize the user portal to your liking, and one of those things is like you can add these content blocks, et cetera. And so we could have made a content block that's like every knowledge base article for my end users. And I didn't want to do that because I think we all know that if you put a box on there with 15 links on it that says search or look through the knowledge base, read here first, anything like that, the user's just going to go right past it. He's going to go and start submitting a ticket. So the idea here is your top 1 or 2 or 3, yeah, put those on the knowledge base. These are the heavy hitters that everybody has a problem with. But then for the extra stuff, like the 20, 30 articles that you want to put in front of users, have them find that by submitting a ticket. So as they start submitting the ticket, then it's going to show them those knowledge base hits.
Cool.
It's a pretty small feature, and I think it'll be useful.
No, it will be. All right, let's see. Stephen Ship 1027 wants to know the future of the iPad-based client.
So we're continuing to iterate. So Greg didn't mention that. We've got some improvements inside of the inventory view of the iPad client, and a couple of features added to the help desk that I think we're missing. And also the community integration, I think, is improved in the iPad client. I can't remember all the details. I don't manage that project. But one thing to keep in mind with the iPad is that the app that you get out of the App Store, that's really just a browser that connects to the app the Spiceworks app that you install in your network. So when you want to get the new features for the iPad client, really you're upgrading your Spiceworks install inside of your network. You're not upgrading the iPad app.
Cool. Let's see, you guys are asking some good questions here. Andre Wiley wants to know, are there any improvements going into the monitoring and alerting specific to servers?
That's a really good question. So monitors for servers haven't changed, but what I will say is that one thing that Greg didn't mention is that we've improved the grouping logic. And so the way that this applies to monitors is like this. So previously the way that you could create, well, let me go the other direction. So a monitor, when you set up a monitor, you set up a monitor to monitor a set of servers or a set of devices or a group of devices for a specific condition. So something like low disk space or software got installed or something like that. But what you're monitoring isn't all of your devices, it's a group of devices. So there's a lot of stuff that's inside the application that's framed around grouping of devices. And so if you went into the previous release and you looked at how you construct groups, it was a little bit clunky. Like, you could create these groups that would be like all the Windows 7 computers or all the laptops, stuff like that. But if you wanted a more sophisticated group, like Windows computers that have Office 2010 installed, or the Linux computers that are a specific distribution, stuff like that, we couldn't do those types of rules. And so now we've added the ability to make more powerful or more expressive groups, so you can actually convey some of your intent for how you want to group devices together. And so going back to the question, you'll be able to use the more powerful groups for monitors, so in that way, you'll actually be monitoring just the devices that you care about and not everything. So you wouldn't get a bunch of misfires for a bunch of, software got installed on an end user's computer. Like, I don't know, maybe you don't care about that.
Right. Well, those are all great questions. We actually have time for one last question, just from Just Some Geek. Is the functionality improvement from the server end what you'll be focusing on in the future?
I think this is alluding to the question or the thing that Greg said about the server process. No, I don't think it's fair to say that we're focusing on it. The app isn't going to turn into some sort of like software as a service type thing where all your data is in our servers. It's not that. What we've done is made it to where the core application still keeps most of your data on the premise. The knowledge base was the first time that we put some of your data and put it in the cloud. But we did that largely for us to be able to iterate on the knowledge base, because we can change our servers on a weekly basis. We don't expect anybody to download and install new apps on a weekly basis as we're trying to improve these features, right? So once we sort of get closer to what we think is a good final version of the knowledge base, then we're going to work on making it to where all your data stays local again. So going back to the question, I think you're gonna see us doing it like that, where there's features that come from the community just because we want to be able to change them in the early parts of those features, change them frequently. That would be one reason. Another reason is just as we're trying to socialize more community stuff back into the application. So you're looking at software products, and it shows you the article that's highest rated for what's it like to be audited by Microsoft. I don't know if you've ever read that in our community. It's a really great article. It talks about the audit process and stuff like that. So we want to make relevant conversations in the community appear inside the application, and of course that requires some of the features being built from the server's perspective.
Awesome. Well, that was our last question. Those were some great questions. Don't forget to join the 6.2 group. If we did not get to your questions, we will get to them out there. And any last words, Freddie?
Don't go to sleep, kiddies.
And we will throw it back to Elise.
Okay, and on a lighter note, the clown is back to talk to you guys about a few things and give you some reminders. Thanks, guys. Those are really good questions. And as Jason mentioned, if you have more questions or we weren't able to get to them today, be sure to follow the group. There's a lot of good discussions going already about what's coming in 6.2. And when you follow the group, that's where you can sort of chime in on all those discussions, get your questions answered. And of course, you'll be the first to know if you're following the group when the beta is actually out and ready to test. And that is a really important part of the release cycle for us. Your testing and feedback on our releases is really important for us, and we really appreciate all of the time and effort that all of you guys give us in terms of releases. So thanks so much in advance for following the group. And just as a reminder, if your question did get asked on the air, don't forget to PM me. I'm Elise, E-L-I-S-E in the community, or you can also email me, Elise@Spiceworks. Send me your mailing address so I can send you these super cool sunglasses. And that's pretty much it for us. Be sure to tune in next week at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, since we're moving our clocks this weekend, I believe. So that'll be at 10 a.m. next Wednesday. You can tune into spiceworkslive.com. And next week at 10 a.m. we're going to be covering the scan piece, how to focus your scans in 6.2. So be sure to tune in. Thanks to everyone who did tune in today, and we'll see you guys next week. Happy Halloween. Be safe out there.